to be here because I get to have a little FaceTime with you guys. But before we get started, I also want to let you know that I am a little nervous. All right, I've got this light shining in my face. There's a million of you out there. So I get a little claustrophobic. All right, but the main reason I'm nervous is because 2 weeks ago, all right, I found out that, I don't know where he even, oh, he's up there, that Grant Hewitt was coming to hear me speak, all right? And so right away, there's this regional director coming to listen to me speak. And so there's a lot going on in here. I'm sweating on the inside, all right? Just bear with me. I feel like I'm a kid in tryouts. There's a microscope on me. And every word I say, everything I do is being analyzed right now. And so,
and you're on camera, but
if you guys will continue to do that, right, exactly. If you guys will continue to laugh at my jokes, it will make me feel a lot better. I'm insecure, and so that's going to help me out a whole lot, all right? Besides that, hey, if there's nothing else that you get out of today, all right? If there's no coherent sentence, anything that makes sense to you, just know that the pressure and the stress and the anxiety that you feel week after week after week, hour after hour after hour as you study for your test is what I felt a lot of over the past couple weeks. Okay, so at least we're connected in that way. As a matter of fact, we can, I mean, you guys have your chicken, the meal's been good. We can go ahead and close with that, right? We've established a connection. No, I'm kidding. Hey, I am really excited to be here today, and I'm excited to talk with you about the heart of the matter, where your worth comes from. And to start off, I want to ask you guys a question. I want to get your minds working. You're all students, and your minds do that anyways naturally. And so I want you guys to start thinking about, what do you think about when I say the word God? Who is God to you? Okay, this is an important question because I think how we see God and how we see ourselves are intimately connected and related. All right, so when I say the word God, what images, what emotions, what pictures come into your mind? Do you feel like homeboy in the picture right here? Do you feel like that you're in the middle of the wilderness here in school? You're wandering through, you're in a fog, you're trying to find your way, and God is out there somewhere, but He's distant, He's detached, He's remote, He's indifferent. Is that what you feel like when I say, who is God to you? Or maybe you do think God is close. You think He's personal. He's there, but He's kind of like that bully at the deep end of the swimming pool, and you're so stressed, you're so anxious, you have so many assignments and quizzes and grades and things to do, and all of a sudden you catch a break and you come up for a breath of fresh air, and God is like that bully, and He just pushes you back down, and He's suffocating you, and you're struggling. What do you think of when I say the word God? Or possibly that's God to you, a school teacher, and you feel like that you are walking on eggshells right now. You feel like that there's so much pressure to perform, there's pressure to prove yourself here in school, whatever brought you here, and God is peering over your back, kind of like Grant is looking at me right now, and analyzing your every step and your every move, and He's out there to whip you in line and to whack you in the shape if you mess up. How do you think about God? That's really important because the way you think about God is connected with how you see yourself. I know for me, I see God as a loving, caring Father who's there to see me through the good times and the bad times, but who's also carefree and lighthearted and wants to play a mean joke on me every now and then to remind me not to take life too seriously. Point in case. 2 weeks ago, Scott, Kelly, and I were planning out our meetings. We're looking for who can speak and who can fill what slot, and this slot is open. And Kelly, who's not here, I guess she didn't want to hear me speak. She might be whatever. She had stuff going on. But Kelly recommended that I step into this slot. And I jumped at it because I thought that it would give me some FaceTime with you guys. I'd get to know you, you'd get to know me, a personality with a face, those kind of things. And you know, early on, because if you guys don't like what I have to say, you know, you can just avoid me like the plague after this on campus. Or if you like me, maybe you can come up and say hello and meet me. So I jumped at this idea to get in here and to speak. And we finished up our meeting. We were analyzing the mission trip and different things that were going on. We closed our books, and I went home. And as I was driving home, I was thinking about what I was going to speak about today. And I got home and I looked at the calendar and I realized that today is the day after yesterday. Today is Thursday and yesterday was Wednesday, and you guys all know what happened on Wednesday, right? God has a sense of humor. God has a sense of humor. Yesterday is a day when a lot of people renew their commitment, renew their devotion. They're on fire, they're energized. It's a day that starts with it's signified by a four-letter word that starts with L. You guys know the day I'm talking about, right? Love. I'm talking about Lent. Oh. Yesterday was the start of Lent, Ash Wednesday. And the God would have me speak before that day is you guys thought I was talking about that other day, didn't you? You guys thought I was talking about that other day that begins with that four-letter word that starts with L. You guys thought I was talking about Valentine's Day, right? Yeah, it's funny that God would have me speak on the day after Valentine's Day. But what gave me that impression? Is it the shirt? Is it the Cupid hearts and the little arrow? Is it the name of the top, the heart of the matter? Whatever it is, hey, look, I just got to be honest with you guys, okay? I'm a theologian, and I just want to follow Jesus. And as far as I knew, that guy was single, and I'm just trying to walk like him. Besides, the Apostle Paul said it was better to be single anyways for ministry. And Paul, as much of a jerk as he was, probably right. Yesterday was kind of rainy and gloomy anyways, and so maybe God was trying to send me a little subliminal message about my love life. But it did start to, the sun did come out towards the end of the day, so maybe there's some hope at the end of the tunnel. I don't know. We'll see. But I did find it funny that God would have me speak on the day after Valentine's Day. So today I do want to talk to you about love. We all want it. We all need it. Every one of us, if we're honest, wants to be an end game. Everybody wants to be an A class. Everybody wants to be a first string. Okay, if you didn't catch that, it's a Taylor Swift joke, all right? I promised myself I'd pull it out. I'd only use it once. There it is. No more, okay? But all of us want to know that we're worth something, that we're valuable, that we matter. And you guys are going into a profession where that's really easy to lose track of. And so, because yesterday was Valentine's Day, I want to ask you guys, when I say the word love, again, what other emotions come up inside of you? What is love to you? Do you feel like this woman in the picture? Lighthearted, carefree. There's a significant other that you have that you're connected with, and that life is just on cloud nine for you. Are you happy and joyous when I say the word love? Or do you feel this way? Do you feel like swipe left? Do you feel rejected? Do you feel kicked to the curb like a dog? And you're the theme of a country song. What do you think of when you think of love? And that's important because love is attached to our worth. And as I said, we all want to know that we're worth something. We all want to know that we're valuable, especially in this profession that you're going into. And right now, you may not feel like you're worth a whole lot because of the stress and the tension and the pressure that's going on. And you may look at me and you might say, well, okay, yeah, that's all right, but when I get out of here, everything's going to be okay, and I'm going to be able to get into this profession, get into this practice where I'm going to be making a whole lot of money, okay, and I'm going to have a lot of time on my hands, and I'm going to be able to do whatever I want. I'm here to tell you that's a big, fat lie. Okay, right now in your life, you are the least busy that you will ever be. You are the least busy you will ever be in your life. Dude's shaking his head. He's telling me I'm lying. I may be. I don't know. But I'm going to tell you this, okay? My professors in school told me the same thing. And I looked at them and I shook my head at them and I said, there's no way. I am stressed. I am exhausted. I am fatigued. And I realize now I'm kind of like a teenager when your parents tell you something and you say you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about. But you grow up and you realize they were right, that they were right. Because there's so much pressure, there's so much responsibility that you're going to take on when you get out of here, when you get out of these walls, when you get into the residency, when you get into your career, and you're going to have families, and you're going to have kids, and you're going to have all of this stuff that's going on. And so right now, the habits that you develop, that you sow into your life are extremely important. And they're going to really define a lot of what you do when you get out of here. And that's why it's important for you to know at your core where your worth comes from. Because when you get out of here, I don't want you to end up like one of these. Did you know that your profession has the highest suicide rate out of any profession in America? Physicians are number 1 at 1.87 times. Do you have any other occupation? And dentists are number 2 at 1.67. Now for females, it's even higher. Okay, and so out there, it's not a whole lot different than in here, except there's a lot more pressure and stress. Okay, you have these responsibilities and these student loans and all of these things that can be swarming around in your life. And that's why it's so important for you to know where your worth comes from. Okay? And so today that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the heart of the matter. And I want to take you to Luke chapter 10, verse 38 through 42. It's really cool. It's this text with Jesus and these 2 women. And you might be thinking to yourself, where's he going with this? What's he doing? Great. I'm glad I have your attention. Let's jump in. Okay? I'm going to read it. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Martha, Martha, the Lord answered, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will likely not be taken away from her. Okay. Wow, that's deep. You might be asking yourself, okay, so you got Jesus and you got these 2 women and you've got this scene where they're together. What does that have to do with me? This is a 2,000-year-old story and an ancient document, and I'm here at med school or dental school, and I'm studying and I'm trying to, make sure that I'm okay in the midst of all this pressure. How are these related? Okay, I actually think that this is something that we can all learn a lot from. There's a lot of Martha in all of us. There's a lot of Martha that can come out in you guys, especially as you're here. So I want to fill in some context, paint the picture for you, connect the scene a little bit better. But before I do that, okay, I'm going to take you back there. But before I do that, you guys are all smart. You're students. You're of a very noble profession. And so I just want to let you know that the information I'm fixing to give you is not the way that I see the world. All right? So separate the message from the messenger, okay? Remember, I'm insecure, and so if you guys start booing and hissing at me, I might run out of the room, all right? The way that they saw the world back then is not the way that I see the world today. With that being said, I'm going to take a risk, I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to fill in some context. So way back when, in the 1st century, it's a really cool quote by this guy named Apollodorus. Let me just say this before I jump into that. The way that women were looked at in the 1st century, not the way I look at it, right? Remember, okay? The way that they were looked at back then, how do I put this nicely? Was not very highly. All right? So you have cattle, you have livestock, you have sheep and goats and all those things. And those are considered to be property in the 1st century. Women are on the same level. All right? In the 1st century, they lived in a very objectifying culture. Women were a means to an end. And that's the way that the world saw them. And this quote by Apollodorus, this 4th century BC dude, really backs this up. He said this, we have courtesians for pleasure, that would be prostitutes or entertainers, handmaidens for day-to-day care of the body, so to wash and take care of you, and wives to bear legitimate children, and to be guardians of the house. And so women were very objectified. They lived in a culture where they found their status and being married off and being given to somebody else. They were owned by the men that were ahead of them in life. So it was either their father, or if they were lucky enough to be married off, it would have been the husband they were married to. Right? And so that's the kind of culture that Jesus is in. Another element of that culture is honor and shame. Now, if you come from a society anywhere else but here really in the United States, you're going to be from an honor-shame society. Okay, and so if you're from Central America, if you're from Asia, if you're from Africa or the Middle East, honor-shame is the way that you run things in your society. Okay, your whole worth is tied to the society and the status that they give you in the community that defines you. Relationships are extremely valuable. Everything is a relational transaction. The family is a big deal in these societies. Honor and shame is what you seek. You seek to be more known than less known. And I'll give you an example, right? So Laredo and Whack-A-Mole. So just this last weekend, we go on this mission trip to Laredo. And as I said, Central America is a really important in honors and shame. And so we're in this mission trip, and we're setting up shop. And so we've got this dental office over here. We've got the triage station over here, right? And then all of a sudden, these 15 high school students show up. And these high school students show up, and they're basically dropped at our feet, and we're trying to figure out what to do with them. And the lady comes up to us and says, hey, so we've got these students. They're here to serve. Plug them in. We want them to help you out. And we have to say to them, hey, listen, we were unprepared for this. This takes us off guard. We don't have anything for them to do right now, but if you let them sit here and let us set up, we may find something for them to do later. And they reluctantly said, okay, yeah, whatever. And so I went on my way, and I started to talk to a patient in triage. I was trying to assess them, not medically, but spiritually, you know, talk to them and do some of that stuff. And then all of a sudden, this little 5'0" jumping bean runs up to me and starts barking at me like a chihuahua. Why did you tell them that they had to do this and that and blah, blah, blah. And he's sitting there yelling at me, okay, and I was unprepared for this. And you guys remember that game, Whack-A-Mole, in the arcades, right? Where the little mole pops out and you play around with them and all that. You guys remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, okay, so I felt like I was in that game right there, and I just wanted to take the mallet. Pound him into the ground. What are you doing, man? But I have Jesus and I have the Holy Spirit. I'm still here, okay? We took him to Scott. We were diplomatically resolved it. Everything was okay. But Scott pulled me aside after that and said the guy would have lost face. That's why he got so angry, because he put his reputation on the line. He stuck his neck out there for these people, and if they would have not had anything to do, he would have been shamed in his society. He would have been disgraced. And this was the same kind of society that Mary and Martha and Jesus are in. Okay? They fit into their social roles. It's very important that they go by what society says, and that's where they are in the scene. And so, to revisit the scene, we have Mary, Martha, and Jesus in here, right? You have these women, their status is low, they're supposed to cook, to clean, to prepare things, and Martha is caught up in that, right? It says Martha was distracted by all these preparations. This word distracted means to be pulled apart, to be torn in two, to be pulled away from something. Martha was distracted from all of these preparations. So she's over here and she's trying to stir the stew, and she's trying to cook the vegetables, and she's trying to make sure the meat is okay, and she's over here trying to make sure that the guests are okay, and there's all of this stuff that's going on, and it's distracting her. It's torn her away from what really matters. It's kind of like a Thanksgiving meal. You guys do Thanksgiving, right? Christmas, all that stuff. You know, you have the mom in the house who's the host, and she's trying to make sure that every nook and cranny is fit and everything's okay, and she's flustered and overwhelmed and stressed, and that's how Martha is feeling right now. And if you're not careful, you can feel the same way here in school. When you bury your head in these assignments, and you take these quizzes and you take these tests, and if you're not careful, you can start to see yourself as nothing more than a rank or a competition or a class number, and that's a scary, scary, scary place to be. I know, because I was there. Okay, I sat where you guys are. I wasn't in medical school, but I did go to seminary, and there was a lot of competition in there. There was a lot of nasty stuff that happened, and the reason that I went to seminary, there were some mixed motives, and part of the reason was because I had broken up with the girl that I thought I was going to marry, and so I was wounded, I was shamed, and I thought that running to Jesus would solve it, and I thought I could only find Jesus in school. And so I went there to try to seek refuge, to try to seek solace, but what I found was competition. What I found was people who came to speak at chapel every day, and they had these big prestigious letters behind their name with these PhDs, and they had these very successful churches with all these people that they saw. And so my definition of God and Jesus became success, and I got caught up in that. And I stuck my head to the grind, and I buried my nose in my books, and I isolated myself, and I was estranged. And after 3 years, I was this broken, lonely, scared person. And if you're not careful, you can allow this society and this environment to put you in the same place. And you can become like Martha, and you can find your worth in what you do in this profession. And if you do that, you can start, the competitiveness is there, and you can start to feel this way too. And so Martha came to Jesus, right, who she was supposed to be serving. Remember, the culture said you were supposed to serve and cook and clean for those who are higher than you, and Jesus as a rabbi is way up here, okay, because he handles God's law, and he gives God's instructions, so he is a person of honor. And she comes to him, much like that little chihuahua was barking at me, and she starts barking at him and telling him, hey, Jesus, get with the program. Get it right. You've got it wrong. Look at my sister. She's a slouch. She's a couch potato. She's over here, and she's not doing anything. Do you care about me? Do you not see all this stuff that I'm doing for you? And if you're not careful, you can go there too. Right? God to you can become somebody who is indifferent and doesn't care, and you don't matter, because you get all this stuff that you're doing, and you can lose sight of what's really important. You can lose sight of that here. And you can become like Martha, bitter and scared, and you can end up isolated and alone and under stress, and you can become one of those rates, one of those statistics that we saw, and that's not what I want for you. I want for you to know where your worth comes from. And Jesus tells you exactly that. And I love his response. Society says your worth is in what you do. And then Jesus' response to that, he says, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. Martha was asking Jesus if he cared. The repetition of her name shows that he's offering her a gentle view. He understands her anxiety. He understands her stress. He understands your anxiety. He understands your stress. He understands your pressure. He knows what it's like to feel like a number, to feel like you're processed, to feel like you're nothing more than this unit that's being pumped out, and all you're doing is pouring yourself out. Jesus knows what that feels like. And he wants you. He wants me. He wants all of us to know where our worth and where our value comes from. It doesn't come from what you do. Your worth and your value comes from who God says you are. And who you are, students, people, friends, are people that are considered worthy enough to sit at his feet. God sent Jesus to take on your shame, to take on your worry, to take on your stress, to take on your perfectionism, to take it to a cross, to be nailed to a tree, so that you could know his love for you. And he says that your worth is found at his feet. So I want to remind you, I want to encourage you to remember that over and over and over again as you're going through this stress and this pressure of where you are. At the beginning of our talk, I asked you to think about God. What picture of God popped into your head? And there were several pictures that I could have taken you to, or that I did take you to, in the way that you could have seen God. I want to close with this. I want to give you another picture of God. I want to give you a picture of God that comes through a song, and it's from this guy named Andrew Peterson. Andrew Peterson is a poet. He's a prophet. He offers some really great stuff about God and who he is. Some lyrics about his character, his person, and he plays this song. And he wrote this song to his daughter. Andrew Peterson wrote this song to his daughter.
Liberty Mutual saved us almost $800.
And Liberty Mutual is going to come on too. Pause it for a second. So he wrote this song to his daughter, and he wrote it to her to remind her when the world told her that she was worthless and she felt a lot of shame and a lot of blame for what she did, that she mattered and that she was valuable and that she was worth something to him and that he loved her. And I want you guys to take this song and to think about it not as a father's words to his daughter, but as God's words to you about where your worth and where your value comes from.
You got all that emotion that's heaving like an ocean, and you're drowning in a deep dark just the way that you are. I love the way you made your precious heart. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. I know it's hard to hear it when that anger in your spirit is pointed like an arrow at your chest. When the voices in your mind are anything but kind, and you can't believe your Father knows best. I love you just the way that you are. I love the way He's shaping your heart. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Well, how does it end when the war that you're in is just you against you against you? Gotta learn to love, learn to love, learn to love your enemies too. You can't expect to be perfect, it's a fight you gotta forfeit. You belong to me, whatever you do. So lay down your weapon, darling, take a deep breath and believe that I love you. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Gotta learn to love, learn to love, learn to love your enemies. Gotta learn to love, learn to love, learn to love your enemies too.
Be kind to yourself, guys. Sitting back and speak. He loves you so much that He would die for you. Know your worth. Know that you're loved for who you are. Thanks.